I used to let myself believe I was doing it out of boredom. After all, this is a large house for an old man to wander alone. But in truth, I knew that's not the case. Worry not, Master Bruce. For all our safety, I'll burn these pages. You'll never read them. Today on the Comic Book Report, Batman, City of Madness by Christian Ward from DC Comics Black Label. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And yes, today we're back in the world of Batman, taking a look at a comic title I've been curious about for some time. I know a couple of you faithful commenters out there have also recommended this to me in recent months. This is Batman City of Madness. Between the appearances of the Court of Owls and of course the gorgeous artwork from Christian Ward, this was definitely a wishlist item, and I am so happy I finally made my way through it. I can't wait to talk about it today. Before we do though, I would just like to shout out the channel's sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, as always, I recommend checking out their website. You can find a link to them in the video's description, and if you see anything on their website you like, you can even use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's go ahead and get started with today's Batman review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The comics in this volume were written and illustrated by Christian Ward. The comics in this volume were published by DC Comics Black Label beginning in 2023. As far as what this volume includes, it collects Batman City of Madness issues 1 through 3. And finally, this is an oversized hardcover edition with glossy print paper stock, what appears to be a glued binding, and a total of 176 pages. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and give a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the front dust jacket cover for today's release, and right away I am absolutely sold by everything I see here. We have a really interesting vision of Batman. We of course have a Court of Owls member on the bottom, and some other cool kind of cityscapes and dreamy, just kind of artwork here. This is absolutely Christian Ward's style, and it's one I've come to really enjoy in recent years. The fact that he's also doing double duty on this title as writer and artist, I knew I had to check it out. Looking at that spine design now, we have some of the colors transferring over here onto the spine. We have the title, Batman City of Madness, the creator, Christian Ward, and of course the DC logo there at the bottom. A pretty straightforward spine design, but I'm definitely a fan of it, especially that white font. It really just pops. All the lettering really shows up nice in contrast, and yeah, overall just a really nice spine. Now the back of the dust jacket really pops. We have the Batman below, or the Batman of Gotham below, or whatever he's called. Really love the imagery there. We have some reviews, a little bit of a blurb about the collection, pricing information, all the kind of stuff you expect to see on a back cover. Overall, I think the graphic design for the dust jacket itself is absolutely spectacular. Great art direction here. Really does sell you on the book. Okay, and now for the next minute, I do want to examine this dust jacket one final time. This time I will go ahead and begin by opening up the interior flaps and then eventually just spreading it all out so you can see it all at a glance. The interior flaps give us a little bit more bonus artwork and little brief kind of quotations from the collection. I really like this approach here. I think it adds a little something to the dust jacket, and again, just so you can see it all at a glance. Is it a wraparound dust jacket? Kind of, in a way. I think the art all blends pretty seamlessly here, and again, just great design work. Now on the hardback itself, I am happy to say we do have some art printed on the board. Once again, we have the Batman of Below, or the Batman of Gotham Below, and on the back of the hardback, we actually have an image of just regular Batman. When you spread it all out, you get a pretty just amazing piece of art here. Again, I'm really happy to see art on board. It's always an added facet, and especially with a book that is so richly art heavy, it's just great to have more art. And after we finish our look there at the exteriors, I did want to go ahead and transition to take a look at this book's binding. So as I mentioned earlier, I believe this is glue binding. You can certainly see a fair amount of glue in the actual binding itself. Is it also sewn? Perhaps. It's a little hard for me to tell. I will say there's no real eye on this collection, and the pages lay relatively flat. There was a little bit of gutter loss, but nothing too critical. Certainly nothing I couldn't see once I pushed the pages down a bit. Ultimately, no real complaints. Next, just for fun, I thought I'd showcase this Batman City of Madness next to another great DC Comics Black Label title. Of course, I'm talking about Aquaman Andromeda. The reason I wanted to pair these two together is because Aquaman Andromeda is actually where I first encountered the art from Christian Ward, and I've grown to be quite a bit of a fan of this work. I know I've also read Spectrograph by James Tynion IV and Christian Ward, and of course I have here now Batman City of Madness. Again, just a prolific creator, and I thought it was just really fun to showcase both of these next to each other. They're both in those kind of oversized, boxy formats from DC. Again, a really great way to showcase an art-heavy book, of which Batman City of Madness certainly is. Okay, and now we can go ahead and jump into today's collection, and after some really ornate end pages that show kind of a dilapidated city, we have a title page, we have publication information page, a thing noting the creators, and then we basically jump right into the collection. We have, of course, the cover of the first issue or book of Batman City of Madness, and then as you open past that cover, we have a little brief quotation, a single line of dialogue, essentially, and then we're off to the races. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, this is a 3-issue miniseries from DC Comics Black Label. The issues are overlong, though, definitely over 20 pages, probably closer to 50, give or take. But yeah, really enjoyed this work. I've really enjoyed actually a lot of the DC Black Label titles I've been privileged enough to read. For those that don't know, DC Comics Black Label is kind of an imprint within DC Comics that is generally geared to more mature audiences in mind. These are also stories that may or may not be canon. I think with this case here, I don't know that this is a canon Batman story. Honestly, for a reader like me, that's relatively irrelevant. I just enjoy a good story, and I think for the most part, that's absolutely what I found here with Batman City of Madness. Now let's go ahead and jump into what this story is really about. Let me give you a general shape of what happens in this story. Essentially, we begin with a really cool interior monologue from Alfred, or essentially it's like his writings of a letter to Bruce. You get this idea, or it certainly suggests that he does these letters while Batman is out, kind of doing his vigilante stuff as night. Basically, Alfred is kind of kept up at night or kind of haunted by the fact that Bruce does this, and he conveys his doubts and fears and struggles, and presumably he writes them all down in these letters that he decides to burn every night so that Bruce and no one else will ever read them for security measures or things like that. I thought that this was a really fun way to begin this story. It certainly sets a unique tone where you can just see that the loved ones of Bruce Wayne are on edge sometimes, and I like that. It immediately put me off balance. After that, you are introduced to this vision of Batman, the Dark Knight, as he's patrolling the streets, and things are a bit amiss in Gotham. It's not before too long that we have Two-Face up to some interesting shenanigans. We find out that he does a kind of clever but easily solvable ploy to lure Batman out. We find that this is the way that the good persona of Harvey has actually been able to negotiate a conversation with Batman while letting evil Harvey just be completely oblivious, because he couldn't just pick up a phone or evil Harvey would kind of shoot that down. So good Harvey kind of influences a scheme that's easy to get Batman on the heels of, and it's basically just to lure Batman there to say something is really going wrong and there's a third personality going on in my head and something is just off in Gotham. And this is again a kind of foreboding, just interesting kind of plot that lends to this kind of creepy, insidious, unsettling tone. Simultaneously, we also have this parallel story arc where the Court of Owls is kind of negotiating something underground beneath Gotham, and we have different factions of the court. We find out that there's actually this gateway that appears to be guarded, but a Court of Owl, or rogue Court of Owl, has kind of blown this open, and things are starting to come out from this portal, from this doorway, something from below. So the Court of Owls dispatch the Talon and basically decide that they need Batman's help to kind of square matters with what's going on below. We are introduced to this idea that there is an entire kind of mirrored city of Gotham that lives underground in kind of a different, possibly dimension, or maybe just deep underground Gotham. Again, an exact copy where everything has a horrific, grotesque mirror image. And the Court of Owls has presumably stood guard over this gateway, trying to keep anything from coming out. Here we are introduced to the idea that this is what is happening with Two-Face, that there's a persona from Gotham Below invading his mind. We see that having ramifications back in Batman's story, where he encounters a decidedly even more twisted vision of Scarface and the ventriloquist. We have another personality sort of manifesting there, with that ventriloquist character kind of cutting open his palm and making his own shadow puppet, dealing with his own psychological trauma in new ways. And again, you just have this feeling that in Gotham, people are off balance and things are happening. Something's unusual. Maybe the membrane between dimensions is wearing thin, and we do see evidence of things slipping through. We're also around this time introduced to another narrative where there's a young boy whose father was murdered by a crooked cop in Gotham. He was then kind of misjudged and kind of said he was something he was not, and now the young child is on a quest for revenge and justice as he sees in his eyes. He's taken a solo train or subway trip into Gotham with a gun in his backpack. He's hoping to confront this police officer, but while he's staking him out, a local band of kind of costume crooks sort of tries to kind of jump him, essentially. They see the gun and things begin to rapidly escalate, and before the kid is unfortunately forced to defend himself with lethal force, or maybe get jumped and have his own danger kind of thrust upon him, a Batman intervenes. Unfortunately for just about all parties involved, this is not our normal Batman Bruce Wayne. This is the Batman of Below. He has escaped the Gotham underground and is now trying to recruit his own Robin, and he sees a kind of promise in this hurting boy. This Batman of Below is really, really sinister looking. He has kind of glowing eyes and a tentacled mouth, kind of Cthulhu-esque. Definitely some shades of cosmic horror leaned upon in this work, which I enjoyed. So while that's all happening, as this Gotham of Below is trying to groom this young boy to become his dark underground Robin, we have Batman basically coming into a collision course with the Court of Owls. The Talon basically shows up and tries to recruit him, and after going to the Court of Owls, they have an uneasy alliance where he agrees to go into the Gotham Below to try to stop this sinister Batman who has now taken the Robin underground. And from here on, things get really interesting. We see that the Court of Owls has its own plans, kind of deciding that if this ends Batman, that's also not a bad outcome, but if they ally and are able to stop this Batman of Below and close this portal, it would also work in their best interest. Batman doesn't even care at the motivations there. He's trying to save this boy and try to figure out what's happening in Gotham. So the Talon and Batman go into the underground Gotham City, and things become even more surrealistic and dreamy and certainly dark-edged. And this is absolutely underscored by the incredible artwork from Christian Ward all throughout this work. And ultimately, we have the final act here, which is basically a total confrontation between Batman and the Batman of Below. As we go, though, we have the Batman and this Talon traveling through this twisted dimension. We have a mirrored version of Two-Face over here in prison, and we see the link between the different Two-Faces, the one from above and the one from below, and we finally start to get a bit of an unraveling of the mystery of what Gotham of Below is even about. We have suggestions that there is an Arkham inmate, perhaps a Arkham legacy family member that might have the twisted power that has helped forge the Gotham of Below. It's all rather interesting. We see how that person might have been kind of overcome by this cosmic entity and ultimately become the Batman of Below. But yes, ultimately this is a rescue mission, and luckily we do have a resolution to that end. We do have the proper Batman saving the day and escaping back to the realm above. After the nightmare is over, we do have an insinuation that within this world there is a Joker figure, perhaps pulling the strings all along, as a really fun little tag at the end. And at the very end, we have Batman reuniting with Alfred in an embrace, and it is a pretty heartwarming ending for a truly nightmarish story. I think a lot of people consider this a spiritual sequel to Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, and I can certainly see why. It plays with similar themes, and the kind of dreamy, impressionistic artwork is something else I can certainly see a parallel with. I don't think that you need to read that to enjoy this work here, but it's certainly a good companion piece to this work, and vice versa. At the back of the book, as you're seeing here, we have a variant cover art gallery, and eventually we do have an afterword or essay from the creator himself, Christian Ward, which was illuminating and wonderful to read. After that, we have some production images, some solicits for other DC titles, and that really is what we have here with Batman's City of Madness. Overall, this was a really fun read that just about met my expectations of it. There's obviously a couple more ins and outs I wasn't even able to flush out or get through for the sake of this review. We have like an interesting bar scene, we have an appearance of Nightwing I didn't even mention, but you can appreciate the overall scope and shape of the narrative here. Absolutely, you can see the artwork as well outlined as I've done my flip through. I think the art is a huge selling point, but I was really impressed by the writing of Christian Ward. This is my first exposure to that, and after reading this, I would absolutely read more from him in the future. I always love when I see an artist also try his hand at writing, or when you have a creator that's doing everything in-house. I just do think it adds a little bit of extra flavor to a comic book work, and I certainly see that here with City of Madness. So if one were to pose the question, does a cosmic horror genre blend well with the Batman universe? I think that City of Madness answers that with a definitive yes. A really interesting and fun book here, and I think all that's left to do now is to give it a grade. For this gorgeous Gotham nightmare, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Christian Ward's Batman City of Madness from DC Comics Black Label a B+. This is a well above average read for me. Perhaps it's because it hits a genre sweet spot for me, utilizing one of my all-time favorite comic book characters, and honestly just paired with one of my favorite up-and-coming artists. Batman City of Madness lived up to the hype for me. I didn't exactly know what to expect, but I had high hopes, and I would say overall, they were met. This was a fun sandbox playground for a Batman story, and I loved the inclusion of the Court of Owls, one of my favorite recent villain additions in the recent decades. But that's just my thought on Batman City of Madness. I would love to hear yours. Have you read this title? Do you hope to? Are you a fan of Christian Ward or maybe some of the other DC Black Label books? Let me know all of that in the comments section, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave this video a like, those comments we talked about, and maybe check out another one of my videos on your way out. Thanks everyone, bye.